Welcome into the Backroads Bill podcast. I'm Ben, and on today's episode, we are focusing on a Canadian folk and music legend that exists in the same breath as Gordon Lightfoot and the Tragically Hip and many others that have focused and put on a pedestal Canada and the history. And of course, that means that we're talking about Wade Hemsworth. We brought on John Pineau, who is a local out of Mattawa and has known Bill for many years. And together they do all these campfires at the Ecology Center. And John sings, Bill tells stories. John also plays guitar. So today we brought him on, and we are going into the history of Wade. And John's actually going to perform two of his most popular songs, the Blackfly Song and the Log Driver's Waltz. So all of that is on the way. But first, a word from today's title sponsor, Twigs Coffee Roasters.
North Bay Echo is proud to partner with Twigs Coffee Roasters, a part of the community since 1995. Twigs offers a wide selection of quality beans, fresh roasted in-house every day. Find your favorite specialty drinks at our espresso bar, rejuvenate with freshly squeezed juice, or treat yourself to mouth-watering selections from our gourmet deli. And don't forget our irresistible fresh baked goods, including uncompromising gluten-free options. Twigs has 5 locations to serve you, from North Bay to Sturgeon Falls to Sudbury. Order online for pickup at twigs.ca. And coming soon, you'll be able to order fresh roasted coffee beans direct to your doorstep from our distribution center in North Bay.
Well, on today's show, it's not very often that we get people coming into the studio. It's happened a couple times, but it's more often than not, we tend to be talking to them over a distance. But today we are pleased to be joined by a local legend and all the way from Mattawa, John Pineau. John, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks, Ben. Really good. How are you?
I am doing well. Bill, you've got so much you want to say right now.
We have people from all over the world that have been to the South Pole and written books on all kinds of things. And so John is with us today, and we're going to have a couple of musical performances based on the theme of today's podcast. And the theme of today's podcast is Northern Ontario, as it usually is, but we're going to hear our national anthem from John, but we're going to hear about, I think, a couple things. I think it was July 3rd, episode number 43, when we interviewed somebody that actually lived in Abitibi Canyon. No, Abitibi Canyon is north of Smooth Rock Falls, west of Cochrane, east of Kapuskasing, and that was an Ontario power generation town that sprung up, one of the many power projects early in the last century. That is part of our power grid mark today, and there we learned about that community, but also we talked about the Blackfly Song, which is the national anthem of Northern Ontario, unofficial national anthem, and John's going to tell us about that. But it's about the author of that song, Wade Hemsworth, who wrote a number of folk songs, and you know, when we think about Gordon Lightfoot, Stan Rogers. Who else in that illustrious list of Bruce Cockburn? You know, he's right up there. And this song, again, is very, very targeted to Abitibi Canyon, the Abitibi River, Little Abitibi. And that's a little bit of a kind of an intro to this. But John, how did you come to know the Blackfly Song?
It's quite a story, but I started playing guitar when I was around 10 years old. So, 53 years ago, maybe 54, I was more like 9. And my grandfather really suffered from black flies when he was working outside. He had a place up in Halliburton. And I learned guitar, and the first song I learned was actually the Blackfly Song from a fellow that came to dinner from my dad's office. And I thought, I want to learn to play guitar and play and sing like that. And so I got a cheap $10 guitar. I think I bought it off my brother, and he had given it up. And I started learning to play, and this fellow, Mark, from my dad's office, taught me the Blackfly Song. And I played it for my grandfather, and he loved it and laughed and laughed. And he was always outside in a net in Halliburton, kind of protecting himself from the black flies. So that's how it all started. So it was the first song I ever learned, and I didn't know it was Wade Hemsworth at the time.
Well, Bruce Cockburn, and one of my extensive stories on Village Media, and when I highlight Wade Hemsworth in this little Abitibi River. Bruce Coburn notes that was one of the first songs he heard and he wanted to sing like that. And so there you go. You never know where you're going to get your inspiration. But for me, when I hear the Blackfly Song, it's all about Northern Ontario, and it's all about kind of the blackflies and the mosquitoes and just about the wilderness of the north. And for a little bit of context before we go in back to the song and the lyrics is that Wade Hemsworth, in about 1949, was on a survey career. He had a very checkered career before he really concentrated on writing songs. And this survey crew, most of the waters, and last week, actually, on the Backroads podcast, we had Larry Dyke talking about the height of land and where the water goes to the north and to the south. And so beyond the height of land in Northern Ontario, the water does flow to James Bay, Hudson Bay. But back in the day when there had these massive hydro developments, they actually turned the little Abitibi around the other way and made the water flow the other way. And it was all part of the project at Abitibi Canyon. But he was there at the time. And John, before you sing this song and before we hear it, but what are your recollections of the lyrics and how it just he tells a story. He tells an amazing story, and there's characters in there like Toby Kopitz and Blind River Joe and that sort of thing. So real people. And the funny thing is, I don't want to go on too much, but I actually worked in Northern Ontario starting in the late 70s, early 80s, and I got to see the dam, and I was like blown away by its size. It was just massive. Okay, I'm here at history, living history where Wade Hemsworth and Toby Kopitz and Blind River Joe all worked to make this happen. And my first experience with real blackflies up in Northern Ontario planting trees was horrendous, and it just resonated so well with me. And I remember on the tree planting camp, we sang that song around the fire. I had my guitar there, and I changed the lyrics for the tree planting camp and had a lot of fun. But it all goes back to the fact that Wade had a knack for writing really, I think, existential songs that really felt like an actual scenario, real life. And it captured the essence of what he experienced so well and what he suffered with the black flies. And the vignette is amazing, the Canadian Film Board vignette. There's the one of the black flies swimming underwater with snorkels and masks and that sort of thing. Just amazing how they animated that as well. So just the whole thing with Wade, he was a real master. Yeah. Well, the blackflies are relentless, and we certainly will reference that National Film Board vignette and how the song and the cartoon tells that story about Northern Ontario. So it's actually one of my favorites, and actually in the story I referenced that for sure. Ben, did you have a question about blackflies or anything else?
Well, when you were just talking about this, the storytelling and stuff, it made me immediately think of Harry Chapin. Yeah. Very similar to that. I've never actually heard Wade Hemsworth before. So this is kind of, I'm like learning a lot of stuff with this as well. And so this looks really interesting. The funny thing about it, though, and what I like about this song was how it's literally about him just being like harassed by blackflies. And I think if anybody's ever been especially in the spring, if you've ever been in the woods, you know exactly what it's like. I actually have a lot of like PTSD about blackflies because it's there's a lot of bad times with it. And this is something that's kind of in your back alley a little bit because you have many years in the forestry industry.
That's right. Yeah, I've been in the sector for about 43 years now, I guess, since the 70s, and working mostly in Northern Ontario, the boreal. But I can remember thinking these blackflies are just unbearable, and they bite you and they're, causing all kinds of issues like blood loss and itchiness and that, but you're eating more of them than they're eating you. And that was the thing that really turned me off. But I remember I worked in Alberta for a short time and was out in the bush with a bunch of the folks there, and they're all slathering themselves with bug spray and bug dope. And I'm like, what bugs, And when you're a Northern Ontario sort of seasoned forest professional, you really don't think there's that bad a situation anywhere else. But, it's kind of legendary. And my brothers would say, well, I'm not going to put on, if John's not going to put on the bug dope. And I'm, well, yeah. But, yeah, it's just unbelievable how for a fairly short period of time, they just are ravenous, and they are unbearable at times. So, yeah.
Well, one of the opening lines in the song, it was early in the spring when I decided to go up into the woods of northern Ontario. So he sets the context right away. When I decided, maybe that was a misspent decision, but but the song tells it all. And again, how you live and work, and you have to, because whether you're a tree planter or a forester or doing whatever, it is a rite of passage that you deal with black flies and mosquitoes. And I always think when I have the black flies and mosquitoes in the spring, that wow, it's that time of revitalization and growth and all those kinds of things. And other people would think otherwise, because they're
I was going to say, you're probably
themselves.
the only person who's like, yay, black flies.
Yeah, you're probably lathering yourself with too much DEET and things like that. But no, it is part of our outdoor culture. And so this song, I heard it in grade 4, and my teacher, Larry Murray at Marshall Park Public School down in West Ferris, he was a singer, and he would bring his guitar into the classroom and sing all these songs. And so that's why I think I heard it for the first time in grade 4. And I've never, and then when I met John a long time ago in a faraway land around the campfire and other things, that this is in our little repertoire. And we have this little gig we do called a work in progress. And we've been doing it for probably 30 years or whatever it is, and it is a work in progress. But John sings and I tell stories about Canadian heritage, and we have a whole series. But the grand finale is the Blackfly Song. And so I think it's almost time, Ben, that we have John play this song.
Absolutely. Going back to Marshall Park, that brought back some memories. It's not even around anymore.
No, they turned it into a
apartment
complex, apartment complex. Yeah, but that's it was a 4-room school. In fact, when I grew up, on Lakeshore Drive was Highway 11. There was no bypass, and
Lakeshore Drive was considered Highway 11.
It was Highway 11. You came down. You came down through Callender, and you came through there, and you crossed the railway tracks down by Amelia Park. And when we went to high school, you were stopped. You were always late to go to high school because you had to cross all those tracks.
So you went to Ferris, West Ferris?
And I went to Chippewa, so that's why I took the bus to Chippewa. But anyway, that's Highway Lakeshore Drive, which was originally called Algonquin Avenue, was called Clock Avenue, named after the first MPP. The district of Nipissing went from Renfrew, all the way to James Bay at one time. Anyway, Clock was an MP, and so too much information about history. Yeah. But that's when I first heard it at Marshall Park Public School.
That's interesting.
Now all that plaza and everything, the North Bay Mall, all that there was nothing there. But that's the evolution of every place.
Was that the vignette, Bill, like with Kate and Ann McGarrigle singing the song? In the National Film Board vignette?
Yeah, well, that, and another one that when we will get Wood Smoke and Oranges by Ian Tamblyn. That's another person we should get on and we'll make a note about that. But here's John, and we're going to have John sing the Blackfly Song.
All right. 'Twas early in the spring, I decided for to go just to work up in the woods in North Ontario. The unemployment office said they'd send me through to the little Abitibi with survey crew. And the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go, I'll die with the black fly, picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. Well, old Toby Copus was the captain of the crew. He said, gather round, boys, tell you what we're gonna do. They wanna build a power dam and we must find a way for to make the little lab flow up the other way. And the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go, I'll die with the black fly, picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. Well, we surveyed to the east and we surveyed to the west. We couldn't make our minds up how to do it best. Little lab, what shall I do? I'm going half crazy with the survey crew. And the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go, I'll die with the black fly, picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. Old Toby fell to cursing 'cause the work went slow, and the state of our morale was getting pretty low. The flies swarmed heavy, it was hard to catch your breath. You staggered up and down the trails talking to yourself, and the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go. I'll die with the black fly picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. Well, the bull cook's name was Blind River Joe, and if it hadn't been for him, we'd have never pulled through. He bandaged up our bruises and he kidded us for fun. He lathered us with bacon grease and balsam gum, and the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go. I'll die with the black fly picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. There's black fly everywhere, crawling in your whiskers and crawling in your hair, swimming in the soup and swimming in the tea. May the devil take the black fly and let me be. Oh, the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go. I'll die with the black fly picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. At last the job was over, old Toby said we're through with the little Abitibi and the survey crew. It was a wonderful experience, but this I know, I'll never go again to that terrible awful country up in North Ontario. Don't believe it. Where the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go. I'll die with the black fly picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario. Oh, the black fly, the little black fly, always a black fly, no matter where you go. I'll die with the black fly picking my bones in North Ontario, in North Ontario.
Well, what a beautiful rendition of the Blackfly Song by John. Thank you for that. We do have another song coming up on the way, but first, we want to take a quick word from one of today's sponsors, Voyager Aviation, and they were founded all the way back in 1968. They've been a proud member of our community. I know many people who have worked there in many different fields, and the cool thing is they're hiring. They're looking for more people here locally. So if you're looking for a challenge or change, or you want to expand your current career in aviation, they're hiring for a whole bunch of different roles: pilots, aircraft maintenance personnel, corporate administration, machinists, supply chain professionals, many more. So if you're in the job looking for maybe a trade or something within the aviation industry, Voyager, they've hired over 400 people in their company. They're absolutely fantastic. If you're interested and you want to know about a career in aviation and beyond, you can learn more about all the available positions and career pathways at their website, voyav.com.
Hi, I'm Natasha Laframboise, sales representative with the Laframboise team at Realty Executives Local Group Inc. Brokerage. We are a local real estate team here in North Bay. Our team of sales representatives, Matt Laframboise, Phil Seguin, and Adam Legros, are ready to help you through the buying and selling experience. We have been providing service to the North Bay and area community for over 17 years. Our goal is to provide knowledge, support, and guidance in order to prepare your home for sale, bring it to market using multiple selling strategies, and get it sold. As a home buyer, we have 2 buyer's agents ready to help you find your home sweet home. If you'd like to know more, check us out on our website, laframboiseteam.ca. We are always happy to help.
When I ask people about, do they know songs about Northern Ontario, we already mentioned Ian Tamlin, and of course a lot of his backdrop of songs is Lake Superior. But this Wade Hemsworth song, I will die with the blackfly picking my bones up in the woods in Northern Ontario. It's a story, and so it is. I call it the national anthem, but it's something that really reflects upon our heritage. And so, and you listen to the lyrics all the way along. You can actually see. Them swatting the black flies, and then the characters trying to help them out, and so on and so forth. But when you've sang that song countless times, probably hundreds of times, easily.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think about that song? Like, again, just as when you step back from it, how do you feel about that song?
Well, the one thing is I never get tired of it. It's it's obviously a favorite song of so many, including me. And I think I'm giving people a lot of joy and some neat experiences around the campfire. Like when you and I do our songs and stories, a lot of people have never experienced something like that. Sitting around a campfire on a beautiful night, not usually swatting blackflies, but we can make them feel really special and like they're in a neat and interesting sort of place and time, and we can take them back in time. And thank goodness for songwriters like Wade Hemsworth who could write songs that sounded like they were written a couple 100, 300, 400 years ago. It was amazing some of the others he wrote, and we'll get into another one soon. But yeah, I just think how lucky we are to be able to share that really great Canadian folk that he produced and along with others.
Well, he elevated the status of the Blackfly. I'm looking over at Ben now here in the studio. And Ben, what do you think of it? Because you've never heard this song.
I didn't. It was really funny. There was a lot of comedy in it, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
I loved what is after the second in the third verse, I think it is, where you're talking about like I'm never coming back here. I thought that I'm like, if you come to Northern Ontario, I'm sure there's people who've come to the Ecology Center in like May who you take into the forest and you're like, yeah, I'm not, especially if you come from like down south or some of the people who've like immigrated here who haven't grown up. And it's just funny because I'm like, I like how it doesn't, again, it's more about being kind of, these things are really annoying and I don't like them versus like trying to, it's not a love letter to them. It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
And I think it is like when you guys are talking about the campfire stuff, that would be really fun. It would be really cool to see you guys around a campfire.
Well, you're invited for the next time to come around for a campfire. But again, the Blackfly Song, and it is interesting at any time to see how people from wherever they're from deal with blackflies and mosquitoes and how, again, if you're going to live here and recreate here, that's just part of what you have to do.
You just stay indoors in May.
Well, yeah, but that's it. You shouldn't stay indoor in May. You should be out and getting your vitamin N. But Wade Hemsworth, again, he lived that life and he wrote about his experiences, and that's just one of them. We're going to call upon John now again to sing another song, and John will maybe, before he sings it, tell us a little bit about the background of this kind of logging song.
Yeah, it's a kind of quintessential Canadian logging folk humor, and it's folk music. It's humor too, but it's another one that has been featured in a National Film Board vignette, and everyone kind of knows it and just loves the vignette, which does it great justice. But Wade wrote this song, and it sounds like it was written hundreds of years ago, and yet he lived in the last century. I think he passed away just around 2000 or in the late 1990s. And I actually have a CD of him singing all of his songs, and I sent away for it and got it from his estate and a songbook and that, and it's treasured possessions. But this song that we're going to do next is the Log Driver's Waltz. And I don't think many people know that he wrote that one too, because they think, it's a traditional Canadian folk song. It's going to be hundreds of years ago. Some guy in a shanty in a logging camp hundreds of years ago wrote it. No, Wade Hemsworth wrote it, and it's an amazing song. And it again captures the era when there weren't trucks or transportation routes to get logs to mills, and they were floated down the river, and they'd get jammed up, and some guy, very very dangerous job, had to go out there and unjam the logs, and he was known to be very nimble and as a result a very good dancer. But yeah, it's just an amazing song, the Log Driver's Waltz.
We talked about that, right?
On the High Falls episode,
yeah.
We talked about that on the Pick River, and we were going to have a log driver, one of the last log drivers.
Fortunately, wasn't available at the time.
But we talked about log driving and that whole era of the spring freshet and moving logs to the mill and all that good stuff. And I also, John, I want you to talk about another name that Ben, you may not be familiar with, but a lot of people will be, the Waukeme Whalers, and you've played with them, and again, they sing this song all the time.
They do, and they recorded on one of their albums, and I have all of their albums, but did an excellent version of it. Again, Kate and Ann McGarrigle did the version for the Film Board vignette, but the Waukeme Whalers did a great version on one of their albums, and They're a bunch of fellows from Northern Ontario. I think they had the start in Chapleau with the Ministry of Natural Resources, and just did great campfires in their own right, and went on to play all over Ontario and Canada, and did really well. I think they're pretty much retired now. They're a bit older than me, but they are great Canadian folk artists in their own right, and they've written some of their own songs, which are beautiful too. So yeah, Google the Waukami Whalers and order some of their CDs if you love logging music and Canadian folk. It's just amazing stuff.
I've heard them many times. I've been at the Canadian Equality Centre, and they're light and lively. And there is the Waukami Lake Provincial Park near Chapleau, and that's, as John said, that's where many of them worked in and around the MNR and Ontario parks and that kind of thing. And yeah, they're I think that they're a go-to when you're thinking about folk songs and campfires and all that, and our logging heritage and that sort of thing. So without further ado, I think it's time to transition into another song.
If you ask any girl in the parish around what pleases her most from her head to her toes, she'll say, I'm not sure that it's business of yours, but I do like to waltz with the log driver, for he goes burling down the white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly, burling down the white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely. When the drive's nearly over, they like to go down and watch all the lads as they work on the river. When evening comes round, they'll all be in town, and they all want to waltz with the log driver, for he goes burling down the white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly, burling down the white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely. Both her parents, she had to give way and dance with the doctors, the merchants, and the lawyers. Their manners are fine, but their feet are of clay. There's none with the style of a log driver, for he goes burling down the white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly, burling down the white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely. Had her chances with all types of men, but none is so fine as her lad on the river. When he comes round and if he asks her again, she thinks that she'll marry her log driver, for he goes burling down the white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly, burling down the white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely, burling down the white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly, burling down the white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely.
Risque, yeah. No, it's interesting that he's a suitor and he's learned. I love that step lively down the white water, and that he's his character comes to life as based on the different stanzas of the lyrics in the song. So, John, you did that so well, and again, it's one of those. There's a place for folk songs, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, very, very much so. They bring you home. They make you feel a part of a great cultural experience, a great historical experience, and they remind you of our roots. And so much has happened over many, many years. A lot bad, but a lot good too. And we shouldn't forget the good and the people that helped to build a great culture and country that. Not perfect, but it sure has some good points about it. And these songs exemplify that to me.
That reminds me of Gordon Lightfoot and the Railway Trilogy, which you sing, and we talk about, capturing parts of our Canadian heritage. So, yeah, that's the place for folk songs. And, today, Ben, we've heard a couple songs that really epitomize, as I say, Northern Ontario and people listening in. It's a real treat to have John Pineau along and doing that. And I just wondered what you thought, because always on the podcast you learn something. And I just thought, what did you learn today? That's an age-old question you used to ask students. And what did you learn today?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Wade Hemsworth was a log driver, because that song is very much puts them in a very good light. Let's just call it that way lyrically. I actually didn't know who he was before he brought this topic up. And he definitely, there's, as you said, like there's shades of Gordon Lightfoot. I said Harry Chapin before. Obviously, he's American, but that's Bill. You're breaking my
Breaking up the studio.
You're breaking all my stuff. Reminds me of Harry Chapin and that kind of like stories, which is really interesting. And one of the unfortunate things, and coming from a radio background, one of the things was CanCon, which is Canadian content, and there is a certain percentage of Canadian content that you as a radio station have to play, right? So that's kind of you have to play that to be within regulation. And I can't remember what that number. I think at one point it was like 30% of your stuff has to be considered Canadian content. But it's kind of unfortunate. I feel like there's a lot of Canadian artists who don't get that spotlight because they don't get the same amount of love as like the American artists, like even like super popular artists like the Tragically Hip and April Wine and Trooper and these kind of ones that I think a lot of people know. If they don't make it big in the U.S. and they don't get radio time on the U.S. and they're not like the Rushes of the world or, like those kind of bands where they get more global, I feel like a lot of people, it kind of gets lost in time. And I think this is a good example of somebody who did get lost in time, where I think a lot of people in my generation don't know who he is, and that's unfortunate.
Well, I'm glad we brought Wade Hemsworth to light in song and in this interview with John Pineau.
Yeah, absolutely. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity. I'm going to be retiring soon, within a year, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more campfires with Bill at the Ecology Center and getting back into music more regularly, let's say, because it sure is a joyous part of anyone's life.
Sorry, do you play live anywhere currently, or is it just you and Bill? Like you don't go anywhere? No,
I haven't for years. I did play in bands and all sorts of different venues over many years professionally, but now it's just campfires, and I'm very happy just to do that. And we have great audiences and all kinds of groups that come to the Ecology Center, and we get the fun to play, and they get the treat, I think, to learn about Canadian history and some great folk music and stories from Bill.
Well, I'm so glad that they listen to these songs, though, because again, it's about our heritage, and it's all about bringing this heritage, off of the Backroads to the studio and to the Backroadsville podcast. And thanks again, John.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, big thank you to John for coming on and serenading us with a couple of those songs. And if it doesn't make you want to join in on a campfire with John and Bill, I don't know what else will sell it for you. That was phenomenal, and it was great having him in. Obviously has such a vast love for Hemsworth's works, and it's just a big dedication to his craft. And as he said, he's been playing guitar for decades, and it definitely shows. And again, I'd love to go to a campfire with those two. That would be absolutely fantastic. I think it would be such an interesting time. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, a comment, or a review on whatever platform that you use. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms, both in audio format on places like Apple and Spotify, and the video formats on the North Bay Echo YouTube channel. And of course, you can always go to our website, NorthBayEcho.ca. New episodes drop every single Wednesday morning. You can also check out some of the great other local podcasts. So, for instance, yesterday on To North Bay with Love, me and Lisa dropped down to the Outdoor Winter Market, and we chatted with a couple of the vendors and the people that are around. It's again a really cool artisan market, but it's not just a market, it's also tourism did it. It's great. There's still one more chance to go this Saturday. It's beautiful. It's 4 to 8 p.m. on Saturday. When the sun goes down, they have all the lights up. There's Santa's there. They have a Christmas tree. It's fantastic. So you can check out that episode where we kind of go into a little bit of what the winter market is. It's actually really neat. And if you want to know some stuff on the community, you can also check out Echo Essentials. if you want more of a political and community issue-driven look at our city. And of course, for all the sports coverage, you can check out the Echo Sportscast every Friday. Lots of big championships that happened last Friday in both high school sports, and the Junior Lakers women's hockey team also winning big. So check out that as well. That one comes out every Friday morning. So that wraps things up for us. We will be back next week for yet another Backroads adventure. This weekend, make your way to Casey's Restaurant in North Bay for an unforgettable get-together. Dive into our delicious appetizers and enjoy the best drafts in town. It's the perfect spot to unwind, catch up with friends, and savor great flavors. Don't miss out on the fun. Join us at Casey's for a weekend filled with good food, great drinks, and even better company.